So, you know Southwest Airlines, right? The airline that for decades prided itself on being different? Well, they just dropped some news about their financial future that is, frankly, jaw-dropping. We're talking about one of the most aggressive one-year profit leaps I've seen in the airline world in a long, long time. So let's get into it and really unpack what their game plan is for 2026.
Okay, but before we go any further, just a quick heads up. Everything we're talking about here is for educational purposes. We're just breaking down what the company has said publicly. So please, don't take any of this as financial advice. All right, let's do this.
All right, here it is. This is the number that's got the entire industry talking. Southwest is forecasting an adjusted earnings per share, or EPS, of at least $4 in 2026. You heard that right, a minimum of $4. For a company of this scale, that's not just a goal, it's a massive, bold declaration.
Now, this is where you really see just how wild this plan is. To put that $4 target into perspective, just look back at 2025. They ended the year with an adjusted EPS of just 93 cents. So they're not just aiming for a little bump, they are projecting an increase of over 300%. That is not a gentle climb, my friends. That is a straight-up rocket launch.
And that, of course, leads to the big question, doesn't it? How in the world does an airline, in one of the most cutthroat industries out there, plan to more than quadruple its earnings in just 1 year? Well, it's not magic. What it is a massive, top-to-bottom, strategic overhaul of their entire business.
So, here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start with their big bet, then take a quick look back at 2025 to set the stage. After that, we'll get into this great transformation, unpack their new model, see if there are any early signs it's working, and wrap up with what this means for you, the passenger.
All right, Section 2, a look back at 2025. To really get a handle on the jump they're planning, we've got to first look at the springboard they're launching from. And that means looking at how they did last year.
And look, 2025 was a pretty solid year for them. I mean, they had record revenues, even got ranked #1 by the Wall Street Journal. But the number that really matters for our story today is that 93 cents adjusted EPS. It's fine. It's a respectable number, but it's also the foundation they're planning to build this absolute skyscraper of a forecast on top of.
Which brings us right to the heart of the matter, the great transformation. Seriously, this isn't just them tweaking a few things here and there. No, this is a complete teardown and rebuilding of how Southwest does business.
And hey, you don't have to take my word for how big a deal this is. Just listen to the CEO, Bob Jordan. He literally called it the most ambitious transformation in company history. When a CEO says that, he's basically screaming from the rooftops that the Southwest you thought you knew, yeah, that's changing, big time.
So what does this transformation actually look like? Well, it's a whole bunch of changes all at once. For us, the passengers, the big ones are things that honestly feel very un-Southwest. We're talking bag fees, a basic economy fare, and even assigned seating. Yeah, things they swore they'd never do. Then you've got upgrades to their loyalty program and making tickets available on sites like Expedia. And behind the curtain, they're getting more efficient with stuff like red-eye flights and new tech to keep planes on time. It's a lot.
Okay, let's zero in on those changes we'll actually see and feel as customers. How does charging for a bag, for example, get you to that insane $4 EPS number? Well, it's all about adding brand new ways to make money, stacking them right on top of the old way.
Think of it like building a burger. For 50 years, Southwest sold you just the patty and the bun. That's your base ticket price. That was it. But now they're adding layers. Step 2, they're adding cheese. That's your new baggage fee. Step 3, they're adding bacon. That's your fee for picking a specific seat or getting extra legroom. Each of those little extras, that ancillary revenue, adds up and completely changes how much money they can make from every single person on that plane.
Okay, so that's the grand plan. But the billion-dollar question is it working? Can they pull it off? Well, we're starting to get the first clues from their own forecasts for the very first quarter of 2026. This is our first real look to see if this big transformation is actually starting to pay off.
Now, before we flash the numbers, we gotta quickly talk about one bit of airline jargon, RASM. It stands for Revenue Per Available Seat Mile. Don't worry, it's simple. Just think of it as how much money the airline makes for every single seat for every single mile it flies. If that number goes up, it means they're squeezing more money out of the same flights, which is exactly what all these new fees are supposed to do.
And here we go. The numbers don't lie. Just look at the guidance for RASM in the first quarter of 2026. They expect it to jump by at least 9.5%. Now compare that to their costs, which are only going up about 3.5%. You see that? Their revenue is growing almost 3 times faster than their costs. That's it. That is the financial engine of this whole plan, and it looks like it's firing on all cylinders.
So okay, the numbers are looking pretty good if you're an investor. But let's bring this back down to earth. What does this great transformation actually mean for you and me when we go to book a flight? Because let me tell you, the experience of flying Southwest is changing in a really big way.
I mean, this right here really lays it all out, doesn't it? The classic Southwest we all knew was about simplicity. You bought a ticket, you picked your own seat, your bags flew free, easy. The new Southwest? Well, it looks a whole lot like every other major airline. You've got assigned seating options, you're paying for bags, you have to sort through different fare types like basic economy. It is a fundamental shift away from everything that made them unique.
And that's what this all boils down to, really. For 50 years, Southwest built this incredible, beloved brand precisely by not being like the other guys. Now, to chase these huge profits, they're adopting the exact same playbook they always fought against. So the big question is this a brilliant business move that will guarantee their success for the next 50 years? Or are they risking the very soul of the company, the legendary identity that made people love them in the first place? I guess you could say that's the $4 question.